Hello and welcome to today's video. Today is a short, well, not review, but a video where I want to talk about a pen that I've been using recently. It's a vintage pen by Sheaffer. It is this. This is the Sheaffer PFM or pen for men. This pen was loaned to me by a friend and I have absolutely fallen for it. It's a beautiful pen with a really interesting filling system and just fits beautifully in the hand. So let's do a very quick rundown, some size comparisons, all that kind of stuff. I'll do a writing sample, and then I'll say 3 reasons why I'm enjoying this pen so much. So the pen starts with a squared end, which transitions into the round pen cap in a very nice way. The clip is a spring-loaded clip in there, and it's got the famous Sheaffer white dot on the top there. It's a stainless steel cap, sort of a matte kind of brushed finish, and with a slightly shinier end ring there. It says Sheaffer's, and then made in Australia, which is very interesting because on the nib it says USA there as well. The body continues along, and then we get to the what I'm calling the filling system knob on the end there, which then turns into that same squared style of end as the top of the cap. As you would have seen, the pen is a snap cap, and when it's uncapped, it reveals these little ears that the pen posts on, and a fairly tapered section, which includes this lovely sort of inlaid nib there. It's a very beautiful, striking pen design, and when the pen is posted, it's very, very nicely balanced. So one of the things that makes this pen particularly interesting is the fact that it is a snorkel filling pen. So on the back of the feed there, you see that hole there, and when you turn the knob on the end here, that snorkel comes out of the feed there. I'm not going to activate the system, obviously, because it's filled with ink, but what you do is you pull the knob out, put it in ink, and you push it down, and it creates a vacuum, and then that vacuum releases and sucks ink up through the snorkel. So you only have to put the very tip of the snorkel in the ink bottle, or into the ink, so it keeps the section and the nib clean from ink, which is lovely. It's a beautifully clean system, and quite a relatively complex system, particularly for its time with the engineering. And this pen, based on my basic research, and I'm not a vintage pen expert, but based on the research I have done, this pen dates from, well, the pen model first started being made in the late 50s, and I think this one is probably from, you know, the mid to late 60s. But I may be completely wrong on that, and I would love for the experts to put all of that information in the comments if you see it. That is the basics of the pen. It's got a lovely, very, very fine nib on it. I'll do a writing sample in a bit, but let's first talk about just a little size comparison and some dimensions. Next to the Lamy Safari there, you see it's a little bit shorter, not terribly, but you know, a few millimeters, but it's got a good girth to it, that's for sure. Uncapped, once again, it's considerably shorter, and with that sort of less traditional style nib, it means that the section is less defined, shall we say. So it's got a different feel in the hand to the Lamy Safari by quite a lot. And then posted, you see it is much, much shorter than the Lamy Safari. It posts much deeper, and I think that's what helps give it the balance in the hand. I think this pen is beautifully balanced when it is posted. It's actually, the cap goes down nicely past the webbing of the hand. It fits very nice in the hand, and because it's got a good girth, it's a very, very comfortable writer. The dimensions of the Sheaffer PFM, and this is one of the larger versions of that, is 135 millimeters when it is capped. It's 129 uncapped, so for some people that would be a bit short, but for jotting down a couple of quick notes, I find it to be okay. It's 142 when it is posted, so once again, a very nice, comfortable length. The middle of the section is around 11 millimeters, and around the cap is about 13 millimeters. So it is a nice, chunky sort of size pen. And the pen weighs 23 grams, 13 in the body and 10 in the cap. Even though you're putting quite a lot of the pen's weight on the back of the pen, because it posts so deeply, the balance remains totally in proportion, which is very enjoyable. So let's do a quick writing sample now with the Sheaffer PFM PFM or pen for men. This is a fine nib, it's a quite fine. This is a beautiful nib. It's got a nice sort of gentle feedback, but it's quite smooth. Not super wet, but wet enough to kind of, you know, make it a pleasant writer. The ink I have in this is Diamine. Kensington Blue, one of my absolute favorite blue inks. I think I've got a couple of absolute favorite blues from Diamine, and this is probably one of the lighter ones that I really, really enjoy. It's just a really unique pen, and I think that sort of, that design is unique, and the nib is unique, and the way it feels on the page is unique, and of course having that Snorkel filling system, which I'll just show in a little closer there, like when you unscrew the knob on the end there, you see the Snorkel come out. It's very beautiful, elegant system, and one that I think deserves to be in more pens. I'm always surprised that it's not used more, but it gives a nice ink capacity and a sort of very neat way of filling the pen. But yes, you can see it writes well, it writes smooth, it's very reliable and consistent. Good old-fashioned Sheaffer, something that I think the brand in their new ownership can really look back on to try and recreate perhaps. So as I said, this pen is on loan to me from a friend, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm not a big vintage pen guy, but I love exploring them and using them when I get the opportunity. You occasionally find these for sale, and at pretty high prices for the Snorkel filler, for the, you know, the nib, all that kind of thing. But if you see one in your price range and it's a pen you're interested in, I just suggest you get one. They are unique, they're beautiful, and so yeah, I can't recommend them highly enough. One of my favorite vintage pens I've ever tried. And what are the three things I love? Well, firstly, that filling system, the Snorkel filler. There's a unique novelty factor about it in a modern pen world, but also it's an elegant system, and it's beautifully engineered, and I think it's remarkable on all of those fronts. I really enjoy this nib. Now, this particular one does look like it's seen some love over the years, shall we say, but it still writes beautifully and consistently and smoothly, which I appreciate a lot. But also, like, look at when you're holding the pen and looking down at that nib, it's just a lovely, unique design feature as well. The other thing, one of the main reasons I really love writing with this pen is just the feel and the size of it in the hand. It's a good size. It's a nice, clean design, and it feels so comfortable and so smooth and beautiful to write with in the hand, and the balance is so good. They really knew what they were doing. They really knew what they were doing. And as I said, I would love to see the new ownership of Sheaffer and the company direction sort of look back on what made their pens interesting and wonderful and so loved, and try and, if not recreate those models, recreate some of those features, those things that made people love them. When I think of Parker and how popular and how well loved the Parker 51 was, and how badly managed the reimagined version of that pen was, you know, different capping system, terrible nib, like it just didn't do the things right. It didn't post well, whereas these old vintage pens, you know, with the plastic body and the steel cap, they post so well and they post so securely and comfortably. This is something I think that a lot of the sort of that old guard of the vintage pens, you know, the Cross, the Sheaffer, Parker, brands like that, even Waterman to a point, can look back on and see what they used to do so right, and recreate them for a modern world. Better materials, better engineering, all of that kind of thing. Because while the fountain pen world has moved on, there are certain things that we still love, and these old vintage pens, you know, the way the nibs write on the page, the size, the you know, the engineering, things like that, they're still really appreciated. So I've loved looking at this pen. A big thank you to my friend who loaned it to me for this video, and just in general to have a bit of a play with. I'm absolutely in love with it. And please like and subscribe and hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. It's your support that makes this channel possible. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.